Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Overwatch League Discussions, Episode 7. This, with any luck, will come out very soon, just a couple days after Episode 6. I wasn't able to get Episode 6 out fast enough. It's the end of the semester. I'm in college. There's a shitload of stuff to do, and it's still not done. And I also have work on top of that.
I leave in 4 days. I'm happy.
Yep, Diamond's abandoning us. Abandoning us, chat.
I'll be gone for 2 weeks. If recording happens, my audio will sound like shite, but who cares? I need to get out of here for a bit. So, starting on today's thing, Florida announced in a big ass reveal, including a Twitch stream, their entire roster for coming into the 2021 season. The big names, or the starting six that we assume is the starting six, is OGE, Gargoyle, BQB, Yaki, Gangnamjin, and Slime, with their 7th player being Checkmate, from the same team that the Gladiators' skewed player came from. And so I'll start with you. What are your initial thoughts of this roster?
I think the most important and most impactful pickup is going to be OGE, just depending on how he performs. Plat Chat discussed it today, where this is his make or break moment. A lot of people around the league, or like a lot of fans as well, and that's mostly where I've heard it from, is that he has the potential. He doesn't always hit it. And that's been his issue, so he needs to perform and have some really good success here in Florida. Otherwise, you might not see OG in the league again. And Platchat said today that this is his best chance to do that, because he's not going to be the center of attention. He's not going to be your superstar. He's not going to be your carry. Because why? You have BQB, you have Yaki, and you also now have Slime. But the reason I say OG is going to have the biggest impact on this team is because main tank is such an important role, and if that doesn't perform, everything else suffers by comparison. I'll let you
my thoughts. So I agree with both. I do agree with what Platchat also said, and I agree with what you've said about the aspect with OG basically getting his last shot here. I don't agree with you saying Slime's a carry. Slime is not a carry.
Well, I'm not saying he's a carry, but he's not. But his play isn't as in question as OG's is, and we're expecting
fair,
a certain level from him, and you don't have to worry because we've talked about this between just ourselves, Diamond, where you've said main support is a role where you don't want to notice them. Right, like you expect flex support to frag, and you want to see them on the positive side of the kill feed. But if you don't see your main support in the kill feed at all, that's fine. That means they're doing their job. Right, so that kind of pressure isn't there to perform the same way it is for main tank OG. And for OG in this situation.
I will agree that Slime is definitely not the one coming in as the question mark. But what I will argue, and give me just. My nose is twitching up, so I might have to mute myself to sneeze. I actually would argue if OG does perform at his potential, which we'll touch in just a second. The Winter Bowl, I think he did. I would say Slime's the weakest on the starting six. I'm just saying it. I think he is, and that's by no means to discredit how good Slime is. Slime is still a really good main support, but I think he is he is very limited in his hero pool, close to even be argued as still just a straight up Lucio one trick, and his break did not look bad at all.
Yeah, I think there are some characteristics from
big. He still struggled a lot. You could tell he still did struggle some good moments in the Winter Ball, and that's my only point there. But I still do agree what has been said. This is OG's last chance, more than likely, which is unfortunate because I do love the man. I think he is a phenomenal player. He has, as you can go check, Platchat has mentioned before, he has a really good mechanical skill. he just needs to be taught how to properly utilize it, and hopefully, and it was something Plaid Chat has mentioned, or was mentioned in their emergency episode from Albert actually, that that since Kuki was a main tank himself, he can hopefully teach OG some actual aspects to how a main tank should play and act and think, and that's something that I think OG really does need and will make him look a lot better. And well, I'm on the betting side that this won't be his last year. I think OG will look really good, and whether it's with Florida again or with a different team, you will see him on another team at some point.
Yeah, I don't know. I disagree. Not sorry, maybe not that I disagree. The better way to put it is I think I am more in favor of the way Albert talked about OG, saying that I think he's been consistently let down by the teams that he's been on. Because you've even said it yourself, Diamond. Last season, the support line was not strong enough there. That's why they ended up subbing in Mirror for flex support for a little bit.
Not flex, main.
Or sorry, main support. My bad. And then obviously going back to Dallas, it's been a rotating door of players for the last 3 seasons. So I would hardly put either of those things on OG. And to be fair, OG has not been the worst part of any of those rosters. He's been a middle to top middle piece on all of those rosters. So I think having him in a more stable environment, which I think Florida is going to be really good. And I would actually anticipate, especially if the meta favors Lucio, that you see OG and Slime actually end up being talked about as carries for this team. Again, depending on the hero pool and the meta.
We'll touch on it. I keep saying this. I'm sorry, people, because we want to talk about the Valiant real quick. You want to go ahead and do it so I can get into the nitty gritty of the winter ball because I really wanted to talk about it. Valiant re-signed agilities. Yeah. Shocker. Spoiler. I don't know. It came out of nowhere to at least me, but it makes sense. I think it works for them. Agilities is a solid projectile player. My brain had a stroke on that word. I'm sorry. I think this is a good pickup.
What I I do too. I wanna see what your opinion is of Plat Chat's take on this because Bren was saying he's probably like a downgrade versus KSF.
I did not agree with that.
I did not agree with that either. I actually think agility is much more mechanically gifted. I also think he has a much more aggressive playstyle, which I personally tend to. It's a lot more fun to watch, and my opinion has always been that Overwatch should be a game where you are rewarded for aggressive play, not for sitting back and placing down a shield and spamming through a choke.
I couldn't tell you if he was more aggressive than KSF because we barely ever saw KSF. Mm-hmm. To anyone out there who has heard my opinion before on KSF, it should come as no shocker. I will say it here again. I've basically never been impressed with KSF. I've always thought he was middle of the pack, if not worse.
I don't think I'm not as harsh of a critic of KSF as you are, but I am inclined to agree with you that he is middle of the pack. Whereas I think with agility's mechanics, which is much more demanding and rewarding on DPS, that he'll actually be an upgrade, especially on the roles that he's played in.
Yeah, I just think that it was wrong to say that he was a downgrade to KSF, but I just think that agilities is better than KSF, at least mechanical wise. I think agilities can hit higher highs than KSF, but I do think agilities is a bit limited in his hero pool. And do I want to say he's inconsistent? No, I don't. I don't think he's that inconsistent.
It was just the May this year. May being meta just kind of fucked him.
His May really was pretty poor, so hopefully we won't see that much May again. But
I doubt it.
Now going to the winter ball. So as we mentioned last episode, the Valiant were putting on a winter ball that wrapped up with a small tournament between the 4 teams that were participating: the LA Gladiators, the LA Valiant, the Atlanta Reign, and the Florida Mayhem.
I'm gonna interject real quick here and just say, to the LA Valiant, this was a really nice Christmas present to fans. It was really good.
It was.
You got to see old content from Kariv's and Agility's cooking show, which was really fun. I actually enjoyed watching some of those clips in between games. Also, from a more competitive aspect, it gave us a sneak peek at Gladiators, at obviously the Valiant,
At all four. At all four.
Yeah, at all four, and Rain as well. So
yeah,
it was.
That's the part I really want to like at least give my thanks is I do actually appreciate some preseason games. I don't want a whole lot, but I love the Shanghai tournament that they did just like week or two prior. So thank you, Valiant, for putting it on so we can actually get somewhat of a sense of how each team looks. It's not solid, we know that. You know, we're expecting you all to play to a higher level once the actual games start, but it was still nice to see a lot of the pieces fit in. See that you were choosing to run agilities the entire time, which was something I would have not predicted. So it makes me start now I have now information on what agilities looks like when he's been put into this lineup. So, you know, all that type of knowledge that I really enjoy comes because you've decided to give us this nice present. But with that, in the tournament, the LA Gladiators would end up taking home the first place finish, pretty much dominating the entire time. I think the only hiccup was the match with Atlanta where they went 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
And then the finals was still a 3-0 in the end. So the Gladiators did like pretty dominantly win this, but again, there were some aspects to it that you could tell wasn't as serious as a actual Overwatch League match. And one of those cases, I would argue, what I wanted to talk about a bit, and what you've mentioned with both May being meta and seeing Ryan and Lucio being played, is Florida played a lot of different compositions. The most time, like in contenders, we were seeing the Ball Sigma in this tournament. But when it came especially to
Busan.
day 2, not just Busan, but day 2 in general, because we saw it, I think, a good bit on Nepal and I know, and on Blizzard World, Florida ran out with rush comps. And I liked seeing that they were trying it out, seeing where it landed, seeing how it played. And it didn't lead to the greatest success, but something that was very interesting, that Florida was doing really well with it, even when the Valiant were playing meta, or at least quote-unquote meta. So I think there is a world where you see the rush comps be able to be played, especially if you are a really good rush team. Teams like the Shock, and I think Florida will be one of those teams. It goes back to your point of, if Lucy and Ryan are meta, that OG and Slime should be able to play a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you. I think you'll see Florida be a really good rush comp, or a rush team with.
Well, I think they should be solid all around, because obviously OG has a very good Winston and Ball as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think his worst tank is probably the Orisa, but that's really neither here nor there at the moment. That's like discussing what OG's best tanks are isn't really here nor there. I think Florida should be pretty solid for most metas.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I think they've entered in the really like rush comps team as well, because because I think it will still benefit Slime a lot more than any other meta will. With that, it was still nice to see how the Glads looked. The Glads looked really good. Part of it was, and what I also think made Florida lost was, just the individual pop-off from a lot of players in that tournament. Three to mention is Shaxx played like the absolute freak beast that he can play as on the Tracer. Mm-hmm. And Dexter, Birdring, and Mirror all played really, really well for the Gladiators. But I also want to say that Skewed looked really solid on the Brigitte.
I know you were so scared about that pickup last episode.
I was super scared of Skewed, because I mean, seriously, he was a person. Like no one knew really who he was. So I was concerned, especially because I never saw was properly integrate other supports in before. So I was really concerned, and I was glad to see Skewed looked really solid on the Brigitte. He got caught out a few times, but that wasn't the biggest thing. Briggs sometimes she's a lot easier to kill than most people realize in the end. But Muse, I really, really was impressed with Muse. I'm super excited to see him play this year, and I enjoyed the Winter Bowl. I was really happy to see it. It was nice to see these players. Atlanta.
Same. I'm so mad. I'm so mad Atlanta looked good. Not only are my power rankings from stream now fucked, but I just don't like Atlanta. I don't like Atlanta. I wanted them to do poop, and now they look good. But I mean,
Yeah, Atlanta looks again. Things can change, but Atlanta looks like they finally
Pelican looked really good, which I'm actually really happy about. Despite me not liking Atlanta, I do like seeing players have success. It's just I don't know. I feel like there's a rivalry between Toronto and Atlanta. I'm like, but anyway, no, I am glad. I thought Pelican looked really good, especially on the Echo. His Echo was really good.
Why do you say there's a rivalry between Toronto and Atlanta?
I don't know. Similarity of colors. They played each other quite a bit, and Toronto's just always played them super close, but never been able to get over that hump. And I want to see my team succeed versus them.
All right. Well, moving off the winter ball, we've got actually a lot bigger announcements, including the Paris Eternal announcing 6 players. So we've got daans, ellivote, Onigod, Naga, Kaan, and Neptuno.
Mm-hmm.
This
is a roster that can do damage. You're too happy?
I like this roster.
I do too, actually. Honestly, there's a lot of we know what Onigod can do. We know he's very good. Obviously, Neptuno's been around for a long time. He's strong. Naga I've seen play in contenders and is quite good. Kaan I didn't know about before this, but I've only heard good things about him. Ellivote, I've always heard good things about him. Never really seen him play. Dawn I've seen in contenders as well, and he's been pretty consistent as well. I think he also used to play for Giganti, did he not?
Who?
No, that was Milky Man. Never mind. Sorry.
Ellivote did.
I was talking about Daans.
Ellivote played for Giganti.
He did. But yeah, I think this is a roster that can really do some serious damage. I think they all have really high peaks. Daans, I think, might be the weak spot on this roster, but I've only ever seen him play very consistent. And the only reason I say he might be the weak spot is because I haven't seen him have big pop-off moments like I have seen Onigod, Naga, and I mean, we know what Neptuno can bring.
Hells yeah, we do. So, I agree with Chat on their kind of analysis of this, and it really does feel like a fan service roster. And I'm okay with that because it's working on me. Do I think they're going to be super strong? By no means, I don't. I still think, especially with another pickup we'll talk about in just a second, I think they are going to see some struggles against the bottom tier teams. They're probably going to be better than London, probably going to be better than Vancouver. And that does pain me to say because I do love Linkser. I love Linkser, but I just don't think he's on a good team this year. Who else is down there? I mean, they'll be fighting for bottom of the middle of the pack, is in my opinion, because I mean, daans today just went out of EU Gauntlet with not avoided. What team was he playing on?
I don't know. Let me pull up the
No, he was playing unavoided. Was he not?
Let me check. Where's the link that you sent me for the Gauntlet teams?
Oh,
I have to go so far back through our conversations. I think it's past NYXL. No, that's dark mode. I don't know where the fuck you sent me this shit. Oh, here it is. No, that's for decal. I have no idea where you sent me this shit.
No, he was on Dubai Sandstorm. That's who it was.
Right, and he was playing with KSA and
Yeah, but the weird thing was they weren't playing KSA on off tank. They played Dawn. And I was really confused. New Kings kind of rolled them a decent amount. I was quite confused because
maybe KSA had the better ball?
No, Ball was playing.
And then they put in Dawn.
Dawn, yeah.
What?
It was Ball Dawn. I don't know. I was really confused. All I could assume was KSA couldn't play for some reason. His internet wasn't working. He got sick. Something, didn't feel like it. I guess. I genuinely don't know. But they played Dawn on Sigma, and it was to me the showing of the don't do Soul Dynasty. Like Seoul is the only team that can get away with it, and even they don't get away with it half the time. So it was kind of concerning a little bit. I'm not going to hold Dawn too much to it because, well, that was him playing off tank, not main tank, and that's his role. But I just it going out that early was still not a great feeling.
Yeah.
Onigod and ellivote are still in the losers brackets. They actually were going against Dawn's team today, and were the ones who knocked out his team. Oh, I've been a fan of Onigod for quite a while now. Onigod I am a fan favorite of his. He is a really flexible player. He's going to play mostly hit scan because Naga is also really good, but I want it known that he is a lot more flexible than people might realize it to begin with. But yeah, and so I'm excited for the DPS lineup. I'm excited to see ellivote again. I'm still really sad that Lolsish isn't going to be joining them. But yeah.
That would be really nice because obviously Lolsish and ellivote have they've been a really solid, consistent, and very synergetic tank line throughout contenders. And they got picked up together for Washington, did they not?
They did indeed.
Right, and then obviously neither of them really got that much of a chance. You played Roar and ellivote for a little bit, but we all know how good Roar is. And then they brought in Janu, and you never saw ellivote again. So
yeah, hell, Lolsish got held. It was even worse for Lolsish because he had to get held hostage.
Yeah, he couldn't leave EU. Yeah.
So yeah, it was not a fun time. To also point out, Naga and Kaan, their flex support, are both on the current #1 team in EU. So you should be kind of excited for them.
#1 team in EU.
Seen as much. What?
Which is what?
Obey Alliance.
Oh right, because they beat
British Hurricane last
did.
time they played. They are technically #1 right now. Obviously, the gauntlet's going on. People, go watch it. After this video, go watch. Make sure you watch Contenders. Watch it on the Overwatch Contenders thing because you can get skins if you want the Contender skins. So, with that, you should be kind of excited. I'm the one I know the least about probably here is Kaan, partly because I've seen him play so little compared to Dawn.
I've
seen those do base Sandstorm at least like 3 times now, and I got to see a good amount of Dawn. So I want to see a bit more of Kaan. These names are going to kill me in the end because they are so similar. But
you'll be fine.
I am also extremely happy to see Neptuno back. I think he brings a very, very good old leadership presence to leadership a little bit, but old presence to this team that could really use it, and I still think he's a solid flex support. Main support.
Yeah. All right. Next is KSF signs with Houston, and Joobi also signs with Houston.
So KSF is
we've talked about this. Will be the 3rd time mentioning it in 2 episodes. I'm quite sure. But yeah, you guys already know what we think of KSF. I think the real discussion about KSF is where the hell do you slot him in here? What the fuck does he play? You have Dante, you have Hydration. Is he gonna get playtime over either of those?
Depending on
right, and the general sense around this upcoming season is that you might need double hit scan. So why the hell is Houston picking up 3 flex DPS?
Dante's not a flex DPS.
You're right. He's an Echo Tracer Sombra trick.
Yeah.
But still, those three heroes technically fall under flex.
I wouldn't know. Tracer and Sombra would typically fall under hit scan, actually.
Yeah, but there are a lot of flex DPS that cover those.
Because that's the point of a flex, is you can flex onto other things. A Echo does not go into flex.
Okay.
Echo goes into
Either way, I still don't see where
I think you're right because I forgot
Where
Dante could play Echo. I was like, maybe the Echo because I don't know if Hydration can play it, but I feel like Hydration can also play it. But you're right, Dante can play Echo actually decently. So
very good, actually. I think his Echo's actually quite good.
I don't know, like Torb maybe. I'm just saying. I would probably argue KSF's Torb's probably the best on the team.
I don't know.
I
I
don't know
think
if that's
you could argue.
trying-
I think you could argue that his Genji might be better than
No,
Hydration.
I would say Hydration's probably.
What about
Anyways, I
the
think
I don't know.
Dante's hydration. Dante's hydration.
Dante's
Genji's not
hydration.
that bad. Like I know I talk about Dante basically being a Sombra Tracer 2 trick, but he actually can play Genji somewhat. I would.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just feel
I mean,
like
you did see Dante flex to a bunch of different heroes though over the last couple seasons with.
That doesn't mean he played them well.
That doesn't mean he played them well, but that's still. I mean, okay,
But
it's really not really worth it to debate what role Dante plays here.
He's gonna be stuck on Tracer and Sombra.
Yeah.
Like, let's just be real.
Yeah, neither of us really see where KSF.
To me,
slots
it's
in,
the
but...
thing of, do you just really admire KSF's flexibility? Because as you just mentioned with Dante, what I constantly say about KSF, he is a damn flexible player. He can play basically any DPS character out there. I just don't think he plays them as well as someone who specializes in them.
Yeah,
on average.
I mean, when we were talking between us before this, you were saying that, or I think there was some discussion about his marketability as a player, because he has a personality.
Yeah, I think KSF is one of the sweetest dudes out there. He's super nice, and I think he is someone you if you're not picking up for in game, they might be picking him up just to be a good presence to keep everyone happy, to keep everyone calm, cool, collected, kind of playing that moth figure we talk about. Just instead of being in the server, he's just doing it outside the server. But I think he's a marketable player in that sense.
Yep. And then next,
Joobi.
Yep. I like this.
Joobi is the first player from
collegiate
college.
Yeah.
To be picked up.
I like this.
Important.
It gives it shows that at least one team is willing to pick up from collegiate, but this also might encourage players to go the college route, and I think that's actually really good. I think that's really smart. Because at the end of the day, when this does not happen, you are not guaranteed to end up on the desk like Custer or cast like Jake. You're not guaranteed to coach like Neko. Right? Or Kuki. I mean, like, you probably can, right? And you'll probably be better than most of the current coaches out there. But it's always important to have a backup plan and being able to pursue your dream while getting education on the side to back you up if it doesn't pan out. I think is just a smart and wise choice, and this makes it seem a lot more realistic.
I'm a big component of trying to promote collegiate esports because I want professional players to have the same ability like football and basketball and baseball players to go and get an education and not screw themselves over in life just to try to follow a dream. I really am happy to see this. As an overall pickup, I'm not that happy when it comes to where this puts Houston, because I'm just saying, like, this really does make Houston feel like they only went halfway of building a super team, or at least attempting. So I'm not expecting high results for Houston overall, the casters did mention that I think League of Legends tries to promote players or teams to pick up from the college esports scene. So, maybe we'll start to see something like that get implemented to OWL, but who knows?
Yeah. And then next is, in this very smooth transition, NYXL signs Yakpung and Bianca. We had one hell of a debate about this earlier. And
I still think I'm right.
I think you're right too.
I I always win these.
But I wholly believe in the fragging potential of this team. I
don't.
I liked Yakpung's aggression. What Johnny said with him having issues about shield management in his first season in Overwatch League, very true. But yeah, I think there's potential for this roster. I don't know. But I am more with Diamond. I think they will be middle to bottom of the pack.
Mm-hmm. Especially because right now we have to assume that they are staying in the Asia Pacific region.
Yeah.
Now I know. I think Saijo mentioned that he thinks the Spark are better than them. I don't. I find it interesting that he's questioning the charge.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. It's not that I think the Spark are necessarily worse than them either. But I still have no faith in the Spark roster.
See, their roster is actually where I think their biggest strength lies. I think their coaching might be where
maybe it is their coaching.
I think their coaching is too strict because their criticisms from this past season were that they didn't adapt fast enough. So if their coaching can either figure it out quicker or be a little bit more lenient to allow them to figure that out, they have one of the most robust and biggest rosters in the league. They should have no issues finding a player to slot in to fill a role, to play a character and go. So I think their strength is actually their roster. I think they just need to adapt. I think it's their adaptability that Spark's issue, but that's neither here. But again, as a result of their roster and compared to the roster of NYXL, I actually think Spark should be fairly similar, all things considered, to NYXL. Pretty close.
My apologies. The roster was the wrong word. I have no faith in this team. I agree with you. I think on paper that they will be neck to neck with each other. I'm still one of the, I guess it feels like at this point, one of the few that's still pretty high on Charge. I think Charge will still do well this year, but the Spark just, even in their, I mentioned with the winter ball that the Shanghai put on the same thing in China, and the Spark, in my opinion, so this it didn't work out as well in the winter ball because Atlanta ended up going to the finals again. I thought it was going to be the same thing that I thought the two weaker teams and the two stronger teams would play each other in the winter ball. Clearly, Florida was, if we're going by simply what those results said, technically was the weakest team, but that I still don't believe that. I think still the weakest team there was a Valiant who managed to win because Shax just played like a monster. Mm-hmm. But I think the Chinese win was the two weakest teams played each other and the two stronger teams played each other, because the Charge still managed to make it very competitive against Shanghai. Shanghai almost still won in a 3-0 because Shanghai is really good. And they're clearly number one in there in APAC, but Charge managed to take two maps off them by like clutching their butts and figuring it out. While Spark almost lost to Chengdu, who I think is one of the weakest in the region, and got fucking rolled by Shanghai in the finals. Mm-hmm. They went out 4-0 in a. I sadly have not been able to watch the games, but I'm not expecting they were good games. I'm expecting pretty poor results from the Spark, because the Spark have, like, I agree with you, their roster probably is their best part to them because they have good players. I just don't know why the hell they can't put it together. I don't know what the hell is going on in the coaching and the backlines, if it's with the team environment, if it's the players themselves as personalities. I don't know what it is, but they just don't know what to do when it comes to getting into the server, and just don't play well at all in the end.
But yeah, I don't. Overall, out of 20 teams, where do you see NYXL finishing?
Out of 20 teams, fuck.
Give me give me a 3 to 5 place range.
Probably anywhere from 12th to 16th.
That's actually where I bet I would put them too. But yeah, I actually one point that I didn't actually want to bring up with NYXL just before we move on is I actually don't think this team will have an issue finding an opening pick with the players that they have. Like, Yakpung never had an issue engaging. Bianca was a more aggressive, albeit probably not as good as Meko, but he was more aggressive, so that's another thing. And then obviously you've got Jonak to frag, and same with Ivy. They'll have no issues finding opening picks. I think you might see their issues elsewhere, though.
Yeah, their issues will probably be closing out the fights, if anything.
Yeah. But next on the list is Boston signed soon, and Diamond is sad.
I am. I'm very sad. Because I like Soon. I think Soon's a really good hit scan player. And I mentioned this like earlier when we were talking about Paris.
Mm-hmm.
This is the team that I think people might be sleeping on. Funny enough, I think Boston's going to be actually pretty.
Yeah, I mean, new
head
coach.
Comparing to the past couple years, it's not a hard bar to beat, but I at least think they might get like
15th,
close to like probably 13th,
yeah,
maybe even higher, because now they've got Stam1 as their main tank, who we know can play pretty well. They've got a new coach.
Fusions has also said that he prefers playing with another main tank on the bench to help motivate him. So you might see another level to Fusions, almost Goats-esque.
Maybe, but my point is, as of right now, we know Stam1 can play well. He played well in Shanghai. Don't let recency bias, mess with anyone's brains. Before the May Melee happened, no one could tell a difference between Stam1 and Fearless. Everyone thought they were just being interchanged, and that because Shanghai was just that good. Until the May Melee happened, where clearly there was an intangible that Fearless brought that Stam1 didn't bring. And when we're getting to the finals, that Stam1 still was the only one who could play Roadhog out of the two main tanks. And so he was fielded and still looked really solid. Mm-hmm. So I do think Stam1 is a solid main tank with a new coaching staff that I'm hoping will do works. Now with a really good hit scan, way better than IM37.
Yeah, and also obviously way better than Jerry too.
Yeah, but I mean that's irrelevant to me because he's not on the team.
Well, I mean as a replacement, but
as a replacement, sure, but like our replacement was IM37. You know what I mean? All of a sudden now we're replacing IM37. Mm-hmm. So the only question marks come to the roster of they still don't have a main support, do they?
Don't they still have Halo?
No, Halo's been released.
Okay.
Halo's garbage.
Yeah, I guess they don't. But I guess
so. We still don't have a main support. Myungmung we know can be really good. Punk looked solid, so I would argue until we get a main support, who might still end up being the weakest. I love the boy, but C-Hex might right now be the weakest link.
That's what I've been saying.
I'm saying that because I don't think Fusions is playing. If Fusions was playing, I'd say Fusions is the weakest link.
Nope, still disagree with you.
You will be wrong, like you always are.
Okay, you say that, but I have been more right than you have given me credit for.
Most of the time, you end up changing and agreeing with me. Just saying.
No. That I gave you one. I gave you one here on NYXL.
No, you've given me a lot more in the past.
Someone go back and look through the videos for this. I need evidence.
It's not just in the videos. You've done it when we're not recording many times.
Okay.
I changed
okay. Listen, calm down, all right? I can tell you're at least half chubbed right now.
It's because I watch more games than just Vancouver or Toronto games. I almost said the wrong team. But seriously, in all seriousness, it doesn't matter who's the weakest link between Fusions and C-Hex. They're still becoming the weakest two pieces on this roster, besides IM37. But we're not seeing IM37, so let's not talk about him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So I think if you get a solid main support, maybe get a new flex DPS as well.
Maybe they sign Aspen. If they sign Aspen, everyone's fucked.
I thought we wanted to make C-Hex the weakest point on the roster.
You think Aspen would be the weakest point on the roster?
Yeah, I do, because I just think the other players are better in the end.
Are you kidding me?
Partly because C-Hex has Overwatch League experience. Aspen doesn't. I think Aspen is talented.
She's got great communication skills. She's got a great hero pool. She's super flexible. So if you need double flex support, you fucking got it. And then to boot, she's just like I don't know. I think she's great.
She's never played at a high. Her highest competitive level is contenders, and I'm telling you right now.
Yeah. So yeah, it's
that is still a different beast than Overwatch.
So is Kaan, Naga, and Dawn.
And we're not saying they're beating the top 15. Oh, what's your point here, Chief?
I don't know. I don't think she would. I think if you picked her up, AC Hex would still be the weaker link because he is less flexible. And he also does not bring the communication skills that she does.
I mean, if you're going to run communication skills, just have fusions.
Yes. Absolutely. But anyway,
like, I'm just saying, I don't want it because I've been one of the biggest components of Aspen and Gaguri because Gaguri's still out there.
He's a simp, chat. He is a simp.
I am a simp. I'm a massive simp. But no, seriously, I think it would be. I want to see female representation, especially because it bothered me that Shanghai just literally sat Gaguri on the bench and said, "Make us fans," and that's it. That's all she got to do. But otherwise,
that's what happens with most bench players, though.
But it was because she was female. I thought Gaguri was
really?
Actually good enough. I thought Gaguri was good enough because that she could go and get and be starting on until Punk came around. But even then, maybe even above Punk, I thought she could start
over. You mean Void?
On Boston. What?
Oh, you're talking about if Gaguri was on Boston.
Yeah, if Gaguri was on Boston.
Yeah.
I think she was better than Brucein. And I kind of like Brucein, but I think she's better than Brucein.
They also picked up Void, and her best hero was Zarya.
They weren't running. They weren't running her last year. Your point? And they had Envy, who really didn't play that well.
Yeah.
I don't really get your point here.
Well, I was just looking at it in the context of this past season, but
the entire time, she's been sat on the bench with Dia, and they were told to make them fans because one was Chinese and one was a female, and there was no way in hell because if they dropped, especially because before they got good, if they dropped her before then, they would have lost a shit ton of fans because a lot of their fans were just Gaguri fans. That's mean to say, but that's true. And that's why you see them be able to drop her and Dia this year because both of them have now been able to sorry, my brain snapped. Because they now have actual fans because they went and got good. They can now release them because they don't have to care about those people who are going to leave because in the end they weren't true fans, and that's just reality. Now, on the flip side, I will also point out to anyone who's wondering, there's still not the full amount of true Shanghai fans because there are a lot of Fairweather fans out there. And I guarantee you the moment Shanghai sucks again, they're going to leave Shanghai, leaving in a, burning in a ditch, not a bitch, burning in a ditch.
I want to,
unfortunate, but
I want to distinguish something here as you're talking about, Fairweather fans, Gaguri fans, and Shanghai fans. Having Gaguri fans and Shanghai fans are what's going to make you money. Having Fairweather fans and bandwagoners, in my opinion, I don't think are enough. Majority
they'll
of them
still make you money.
Not to the same extent as the other two. So
no.
So even if they do go shit again, I don't think there's going to be a massive hit to the franchise.
Well, I'm talking about. I think there. I'm not talking about economy-wise overall, but my point is that, you would still they're not going to see as much of a hit now as they would have saw again last offseason if they would have gotten rid of Gaguri because they weren't yet good. But the entire time they knew, especially once they signed Void, they were like, we're not running her. That wasn't happening, and it was why I've been calling for someone to get in the league partly because every other female that plays Overwatch right now, that at a pretty high level, that is a streamer, and it to me is saying it pushes females way more to go the streaming route because it's okay. It will be more money in the end, anyways. That's just reality, but it's less trouble, it's less of a hassle, and it's high. Like it's weirdly a higher chance of you popping off and making big bucks than getting in the league is because you're female, and some problems would just be that there's no other females in the league, so a lot of people aren't willing to take the risk and the gamble.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I don't want to like make it sound like I think Aspen's fucking garbage. I don't. I think she's actually a solid main support. But again, we'll have a Gauntlet video coming up decently soon. Aspen's team did not have a good showing in Gauntlet.
Mm-hmm.
And she has again zero Overwatch League experience. She doesn't even have World Cup experience. She's never played on Team USA. So she's lacking in some experience, and I think that will hurt in the end. But she'll still be better than Halo was. Halo was not good.
Yeah. All right. Next topic, my favorite topic. Toronto announced NYXL as their flex DPS. They say bye-bye to Barroi. And they announced Yang1 as an assistant coach. So, let's start with NYXL because we can actually dig into him a little bit. NYXL played for T1 Overwatch, or is it just T1? Is that all they're called? Just T1?
He played. NYXL played for Philadelphia University when Overwatch started
Fusion
back in the day.
Yep.
And they would switch their name because they are because they are part of the Team 1 team, because Team 1 is owned by the same parent company as the Philadelphia Fusion, which is Comcast. That they decided to restructure and make everything go under the T1 branding, except for the Philadelphia Fusion, obviously, because they were based in Philly. So that's the only reason why the name changed. It's the exact same team.
But he's had some good performances in contenders, and he's been around for a long time, at least as far back as 2018, playing for Metabellum, where they finished 3rd to 4th, which was really good. Then he went to Fusion Uni for 2019, and they had 3 first-place finishes in a row. When they went to Korea, they finished 5th to 6th. But then the next season, 2020, back in March of this year, they finished 1st in Korean contenders. That's week 1. So, anyway, and then continuing on for NetEase, which was, I think, a smaller tournament, they placed 2nd. Their last couple up towards the end of this year haven't been so great, but he's been consistently on top performing teams. Really good, really flexible flex DPS, which is more than I can say for some people. Cough, cough, agilities, who can only play Genji, Pharah, and Doom. I mean, a little bit of Echo now, but but NYXL also has, on top of the Genji, Pharah, and Echo, he also has Mei and Tracer in his hero pool. Mei being meta last season was a big issue for Toronto, so that fills that hole. And then having him be able to play Tracer means we probably don't see Logix in the lineup. I mean, I will say there's potential. Like, I mean, Logix probably has more hours on the Tracer, I would assume. But and is therefore maybe a little bit better. But if you have the option to keep synergy going, yeah, I think you see there's a less likely chance that you see Logix in the starting lineup now that you have NYXL who can play the Tracer and flex to other projectile DPS if needed. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to this.
I'm just excited for this pickup. I mentioned this to Fracture before when the announcement first came out. Basically, I think this is the announcement I'm most excited Toronto saying. It is a big piece that I think is really good and will help them a lot. I don't think Michelle's going to be that good this year.
Mm-hmm.
We know what Sato and Hisu look like, and they're good pieces, but you're not really, to me, I'm not excited because I know what they look like, and I'm expecting a certain level of play from them. And if I don't have that, then I'm going to be disappointed because they shouldn't drop that hard.
Mm-hmm.
the flex or the support line, Aztec has some hype. So probably if I was more into Korea contenders than I am, I'd probably be a lot more hyped on him. But I know he's good. I'm expecting him to be good. Ansunjae, I have no where the hell he is, and so I have no reason to be excited about him. But when it comes down to Nice, I know a little bit about him. I know he is really solid, and I'm just excited to see him play and see if he can perform really well.
Same. And then next on the Toronto list is they released Barroi. That is sad. And Platchat was saying it earlier today that what's it called? That this man deadlifted the team through trials. So for anyone who doesn't know, Toronto was running trials in Korea, EU, and NA. And we're assuming that KDG probably ran trials in Korea. But the NA and EU trials were done together, which means Barroi took care of both of those. Right, and he put together a list of players that he thought Toronto should pick up and things like that for KDG when he came in. Also, All Bless, our GM, left right at the end of the season, so right before trials even started. So he was also performing GM roles and practically head coach roles as well until they announced or signed KDG. So the man did a lot. His work ethic is insane. And he's been around since day one. I think he was actually the first person they announced to the team before they announced any players or any other coaching staff when the team first launched. So it's really sad to see him go. I really wish he could have stuck around because who doesn't want a hard-working person like that in their organization?
Next thing we know, he gets announced the shock.
I'd be disgusting with him.
I didn't pay attention to too much Barroi, so I don't have that much to say. From what it sounds like, it does sound kind of upsetting that he is gone, but Toronto does need to have a new look to them. And is this the way to go? I don't know, but it is a way. So
yeah. I don't like it. I mean, with them going kind of full Korean, not full. I mean, they're not going full Korean because you still have Logics and Beast making money, but it's just it's so sad to see him go. And I think he was such a big force behind the scenes. It's sad to see him go. I would have liked to have seen him kept around, even if it was in a lesser role. I think it would have been. I would have liked to have seen him stick around. But then the next bit of Toronto Defiant news is they signed Yang1 as an assistant coach. Diamond, I'll let you take it away with this because you were the one who filled me in on where he was from, so I'll let you fill in the rest of the audience.
Yep. I looked up. I had to look him up because I actually didn't know who he was. He was apparently an assistant coach on Vancouver and Runaway before that. The actually good Vancouver roster that was the old Runaway squad. So good expectations, but at the same time, I didn't I don't know how much to say about this since I don't know who the head coach of that squad was. Hold on.
For Vancouver at the time, wasn't it Harsha?
No, he was an assistant. Harsha was not head coach.
Former players org. Currently, it's Flubby. Before it was
Pajon. It was Pajon. Yeah. That's what I thought.
Who's now in Spark as an assistant coach.
Say that again?
Pajon is now on Spark as an assistant coach.
You're right. So is Andante, who was also the third assistant coach on that Vancouver squad. But irrelevant. It's exciting to see, but at the same time, I would go and argue a decent amount of this, it's I can't argue that. It's hard to say how much the coaching staff had on Vancouver. I think they still helped a lot. I think Harsha is a good coach. I think Pajon is a good coach, and therefore I think Yang1 will be a good coach. But they did have the old runaway squad, and they were playing goats for the most time. So I don't really know.
I mean, even after Goats ended, though, they brought in 2-2-2.
They still looked really good.
They did, exactly.
So that might be what something the coaching staff helped with, was quickly getting a good read on the meta and all that. And so maybe Young1 can help with that in Toronto.
Yeah, I think so. I think Toronto's actually looking scarier and scarier with their most recent announcements of NYXT and Yang1. I think they're just looking stronger and stronger. So I'm excited.
You're still overrating them on your power rankings, but you are right that they should be fighting for like high middle of the pack, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
They will give the top teams like the Glads, the Shock, the Dallas, Fuels, run for their money. They should, and if they don't, then that is an absolute disappointment.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Toronto also. They also played fucking Shock 3-2 earlier this season, but they still finished like 12th to 15th. So you can play top teams close and still not perform well.
I mean, sure, but I would also argue that this squad then should close out that game. Now, that old squad, part of their problem was probably not closing out the game.
Yes.
You know, because didn't you guys go up 2-0 on them?
On Shock?
Yeah.
We might have. And we also played Philly really close too.
I think if you have a mixture of young talent and veteran presence, you'll see hopefully them be able to close out some games and be better overall and be able to get in those positions. They don't lose them, they win them.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty.
Speaking of Philadelphia, Philly's going to APAC.
Yep. I don't have too much thoughts on this. So you're saying that one more team is supposed to be going, or someone's been hinting that they're going over?
So in the emergency episode Albert did with Pot Chat, he meant, especially when they were talking about Philly going, he was mentally trying to remind himself that that only Philly had been announced, hinting that at least one other team is going to be joining Philadelphia and going to the Asia Pacific region. We do not know, obviously, at this time who that is. Speculations are to Dallas and Toronto as two big pieces, especially because on Twitter, when they made the announcement, Xe mentioned that he would see them there, and he soon mentioned that he couldn't wait to play them or something like that. Or that he'd also meet them there or something. But
I don't want Toronto to go there.
But Logix is currently in the team house, as what Sideshow said, and said that the other team, the guys were supposed to meet him there.
Mm-hmm. Fucking all was it that Sideshow said they all show up, pack Logix up in a suitcase, and fly over to Korea?
Yep. So more than likely that's not happening. I will also point out to the fans, there is a small, weird, wacky way where the LA Valiant go. Because the LA Valiant is mostly made up of players from either Korea or Australia.
Yeah, but I think if Valiant go over, they get stomped.
Probably. But we'll get onto that a little bit. I'm just saying they could be a weird one that no one's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Because no one would think they would go. And I don't think they will, but they do have mostly players that would live over there. So, but to go back to your point of how they would perform, they probably wouldn't perform that well overall.
Also, I even think Chengdu would stomp them. I think they would get absolutely shit stomped.
No, definitely not. Chengdu is still not looking that solid this year, guys. But overall, I think Philly will perform really well.
I just have images of KSP getting squished by Ameng's pile driver going through my head. It's quite satisfying, actually.
you assume Almeng's gonna play.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's right. Because they have what was his name?
Gaga.
Gaga looked really good too.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if Smurf couldn't do it this year, who says they're gonna be able to do it? KSP is a really good hit scan. Anyways, my point is that Philly should still perform decently well over there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they'll perform as well as they would in NA. Bryn had brought up that he thought it was a hot take that NA is actually the stronger region, and I would agree with him that they are. I don't think it's that hot of a take, because I think overall the regions are pretty close to being even. I just agree that there are less bottom feeders at APAC, but I also think you have less really good teams in APAC as well. And that's partly just because there's less teams in general.
Yeah. On the note of the division of the teams, like obviously a lot of it is more than likely that it will be Korean teams going back to Korea. But I also think it would be a lot more interesting to see a more even mix of nationalities in each region. Right? Like, I don't know if you're... maybe I need to elaborate a bit more for you to get what I'm getting at, but I think... Because, there's so much discussion of, what's better, APAC or North America. Well, you could theoretically solve that because bringing say, half of... Or at least having some Chengdu and Shanghai over here next year, and then sending Shock and fucking Toronto over there. Even though I don't want to see Toronto go, right? You would have a little bit more of that mix, and you might be able to compare it a little bit better. But then there's also
I wouldn't.
But then there's also the discussion of then those teams that go over just get influenced by all the other teams around them, and it doesn't make a difference.
The other thing is you're not really testing anything, because the point is who's stronger of the strongest. And that's hard. If we think Shanghai and Shock are the strongest, switching places for them doesn't tell us which region's the strongest. You know what I mean? Because it's down to who's the strongest team, in my opinion. And
I've always looked at it more of a bulk, not who's the strongest of the strong, because I think that's so. I think that's too narrow.
You are right. It is of a bulk, but my point is that I still don't think it would be that good of a telling, because you're still not seeing the best teams play each other. Yeah, and that is what I think you need to try, what you would need to be trying to do. And otherwise, I still don't think it's that relevant of a topic, because I don't think...
Here's my big brain crackhead moment of the night. You take Shanghai, who's playing in APAC. You take Shock, who's playing in NA. And to make it even, you have them both play on EU servers.
So they just do nothing but play each other?
Well, no, just for a comparison, I don't know. I told you this was my crackhead moment of the night.
Yeah, and you definitely sound like one. To my original point, I don't think Spark's that good. I don't think New York's gonna be that good. I don't think Chengdu's gonna be that good.
I'm Endeavor the pessimist.
I think Charge and Shanghai are your top teams, and so Philly coming in might be above Charge, but under Shanghai. They might be a little bit under Charge. I don't know. Charge could flop. Charge could still flop. I'm putting high hopes on Charge, but they could flop. Mm-hmm. So I'm Soul. Do I have to talk about fucking Soul? Guys, if they run Gesture on main tank, it's gonna if they run Gesture in general, that's not playoffs. They're just gonna be throwing, and every other game is gonna be a roller coaster where they're up and down constantly. So don't put any faith in the Soul and just cry in your pillow. But yeah, I think there are more teams that are better now this year that are supposedly playing in NA. I mean, you've got the Gladiators, you've got Shock, you've got Dallas as of right now. Mm-hmm. You've got Atlanta, who looked really good. Florida, who looked really good. I still think Valiant and Toronto, who should be both really good. Hell, even Houston and Boston, who have potential in their rosters. So I think, yes, while you have teams like London and Paris and Vancouver who are still going to be your bottom feeders mostly, that is more compared to just having Chengdu in the APAC region.
Mm-hmm.
I think the middle of the pack is going to be better in NA than it is in APAC.
Agreed. And on that note, that's where we're going to end this episode. I was hoping it was going to be shorter, but, Diamond likes to hear his own voice.
I do.
Yeah, so thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let us know which region you think is going to be strongest. And, again, as I asked last video at the end, who do you think is going to be... where do you think tell us who your favorite team is and where you think they're going to place. And on that note, have a good one, guys. Peace.